New woman says the American Eagle Sydney Sweeney had brought back her childhood trauma as a brown girl. It is so difficult to grow up as a person of colour, specifically a woman, and view yourself as beautiful in any sense of the word. The professional victims are relentless. Yes, they are, Colin, yes, they are. But the good news, the silver lining to these many clouds, is that they're an endless stream of comedy gold, aren't they? They are. The raving lunatics willfully post this stuff on the internet for people like you and me to laugh at. So there is that. I wasn't going to cover this story because it's not that interesting. It's kind of blew up on the internet in the last few days. But as soon as I seen that video, I knew it was worthwhile because it's side-splitting hilarity from start to finish. The performative gibberish these people spew out is just unintentionally hilarious, so I'm going to cover it. If you live under a rock and you're not aware of the story or the ad campaign, stay tuned and I'll explain it to you. But one thing I want to make clear before we get started is that despite the fact you may have seen people claiming that Sydney Sweeney is unattractive on the internet, and you've definitely seen that. Even my old pal Nick Buckley tweeted that out. Stephen Crowder got in it as well, coming out on his podcast and saying, Sydney Sweeney's not that hot. And I had to respond to Nick. He said, Sydney Sweeney is not that good looking, but she is all woman, and that makes her attractive to most men. The second half of that sentence is definitely true. I'm not with him on the first though. Not that good looking. I wouldn't climb over her to get to you, mate. A lass who looks like that is not considered unattractive in my hometown. No, she's classy. She's the classiest bird in the whole town. When I was in school, the lads would have been lining up to use one of her pubes for dental floss. She would be a 10 out of 10 bagger in Middlesbrough. In fact, we'd be willing to engage in mortal combat to French kiss that woman if she had a mouthful of dog shit. Right then, so the funniest thing about this story is the fat middle-aged blokes calling her unattractive. All right, everybody knows it's bollocks. Look at that picture. You would crawl across broken glass to suck the cock of the last man that shagged her. Definitely. So I'm glad to have solved that argument for everybody. Let's get down to the story itself and then have a good chuckle at the video that the maniac published, the professional victim maniac, that everybody knows is performative nonsense, total gibberish that nobody actually believes. The furore is best summed up by Fox News here, who says, Sydney Sweeney's racy ad sparks outrage, but fans defend the anti-woke style. American Eagle's ad campaign was praised for killing woke advertising, while others called it tone deaf. The White Lotus star's recent collaboration with American Eagle for their fall clothing campaign was titled Sydney Sweeney Has Great Genes and sparked a mix of reactions on social media. Some dubbed it tone deaf due to the alleged racial undertones. Again, that is a reach. In a promo video posted on the brand's Instagram, the 27-year-old Euphoria star walked towards a billboard featuring her and the tagline, Sydney Sweeney has great genes. She crossed out jeans and replaced it with jeans, as in the clothing, before walking away. And that's it basically. It's just this bird, dressed entirely in denim, and the tagline, she's got great genes. Because this is something everyone says about really, really attractive people, don't they? Ooh, they've got good genes. To have decided in your own brain that it's some sort of white supremacy thing just goes to show how mental our political opponents are, because they'll leap on anything. And it's so dishonest and devious as well. They'll leap on anything to turn it into a fake controversy and espouse opinions that they definitely don't believe just to make any minuscule inroads with their evil globalist plot for world domination. That's what it is. They don't believe a single word of it. But if they can even force you to defend yourself, then they've made a small step forward, haven't they? That's why they call everybody a racist or a sexist or a homophobe or any other historism, because the simple fact that people give them the time of day to defend themselves is a win for them. What you should do is do what I do, which is laugh in the stupid fat faces, point at the two stone of steel inexplicably bolted through their heads, and say to them, go for a jog and sort your own life out instead of desperately trying to pull down your betters, you spiteful, vengeful, useless, good-for-nothing, commie ratbag. Easy. And then move on. No need to get into a complex political debate with people that haven't got two brain cells to rub together. Simple. Anyway, so that's the ad and the fake Outrage. Now let's get to the funniest bit, which is just one of the many thousands of videos I've seen by raving lunatics crying about it. And just remember, they don't believe this stuff anyway. We are merely watching because it's an endless well of comedy gold.
I really wasn't going to weigh in on this, but here we go. It is so difficult to grow up as a person of color, specifically a woman, and view yourself as beautiful in any sense of the word growing up in this country. I remember growing up in a predominantly white community, wishing myself out of this body, out of this culture, take my name, if it meant that I could wake up blonde-haired and blue-eyed, never having to explain who I am or worry about being accepted. That is why this American Eagle ad with Sydney Sweeney is especially off-putting. There's a lot of rhetoric right now online about the political ideologies that this represents, and I don't discount that, but for me, I can't help but think about the 13-year-old brown girl who gets all her denim at American Eagle, who already struggles to see her beauty and worth in a world that continues to value white, Eurocentric beauty standards, which I naively thought by this point we would have moved the needle on. And this girl is now wishing she too could wake up with blonde hair and blue eyes. It took me so long, too long in my life to look in the mirror and see beauty. And I hate that continues to be a shared experience for young brown girls in this country.
Amazing. Right, loads to unpack there, but first of all, just picking on her statement. Don't tell me that you've seen all these blokes violating monitor lizards and shitting in the street in the third world, and you grew up going, oh, I wish I could just be out there. I wish I could be out there surrounded by my people. No. You go to the water parks and you were watching the Disney TV in your suburban neighbourhood with your white picket fence, and you go to McDonald's and Subway and you were thanking your ridiculous two-headed, 20-armed gods. You were thanking them that you were lucky enough to grow up in the aforementioned predominantly white neighbourhood in the United States of America, weren't you? Weren't you? You weren't reading endless stories about girls getting surprise sexed by 25 blokes on the bus to work in Bombay. Right? You weren't reading that and going, oh, I wish I was over there. Don't tell me you were using the B-day in your middle-class house and thinking, oh, but I wish I was shitting in a bush next to a train track. Don't give me that nonsense, you absolute psychopath. And the second thing is, just one minuscule point. I'll take 1 second to look for a couple of stories to refute the fiction that lasses like her. And do you remember when Olivia Rodrigo did this? I think I made a video about it about 4 or 5 years ago. In fact, let's look it up. Pop star Olivia Rodrigo faces backlash after revealing she grew up thinking being a pop star was a white girl thing. Yeah, of course you did. Have you seen what Olivia Rodrigo looks like? There you go. That's her. You can tell that she thinks she's ugly. You can tell that she thought she had no chance. You can tell that she goes out dressed like that because she's shy and retiring and she was convinced she was never going to be famous. What is it with these women? The richer, more famous and better looking they are, the more they want to play the victim. They're not happy with just having all the wealth and all the adulation and all the adoration and the power and the privilege. They even want to put the cherry on top and say, oh yeah, and I'm the victim as well, Mr. Minimum wage worker. Or you, shoveling spores in a corn factory. You're oppressing me. See you later. Gets into a limo and drives off. These people are mentally ill, delusional, narcissistic fantasists who exist in an alternative reality where the hottest, richest, and most adored people are actually victims, and don't start even attempting to try and tell me that they don't know all of this themselves. These birds are opening their mouths after decades of sex symbols, supermodels, FHM cover girls, you name it. If you go on the Miss World website, you've got black, Asian, Hispanic, every type of Miss World winners. In 1986 there, you've got one who looks like, I don't know, like she's Indian or something. In 1993, you've got a black woman. You've got an Indian in 2000, and you've got a black woman with a bloke's hairdo in 2001. So what are these people talking about? And do you need me to name the singers and the actresses? Tina Turner, have you ever heard of her? Whitney Houston, Beyonce, Olivia Rodrigo, and this weird olive oil looking bird playing the victim beforehand. Are trying to make out like none of this ever happened. No, there was never a black woman Miss World in 2001. Tina Turner didn't exist. Beyonce's not a thing. Who's heard of Destiny's? I haven't heard of Destiny's Child. No, Tina Turner didn't have a famous career. Whitney Houston, never heard of her. Do me a favour. So yeah, back to you, olive oil. Olive oil with a chip on both shoulders. You're telling lies. You're telling lies, love. You know it, I know it, the world knows it. None of this happened. You're creating a fictional world so you can cosplay as a victim in it. All right? Easy. Are we done? Yeah, we're done. That's my video for the day. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you're a skinny olive oil looking woman with a chip on both shoulders, please leave me a comment down below and tell me why you've never heard of Whitney Houston, Tina Turner, or Skin from Skunk and Nasty. All right, thanks for tuning in. See you all tomorrow. Toodle pip. Cheers.